host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today we are Kung Fu fighting again because we are covering the recently released season 2 of Kung Fu Panda The Dragon Knight. And if you are new to the show, then, first of all, welcome. Great to have you here. But I guess, first of all, we might as well catch you up on, in case you haven't seen our previous podcasts about Kung Fu Panda. We love the trilogy of films, with a soon to be released fourth one. I'm aware that it's announced, but at the time of this recording, not happening. But we love the original trilogy, and we haven't really seen any of the other two shows. Like Legends of Awesomeness, I've seen like an episode or there. Wasn't a fan overall. And Paws of Destinies I didn't see either. But we did cover the first season of The Dragon Knight here on the Outcast, and you can listen to our full thoughts there. But to paraphrase, not the best, but not the worst either. It's passable minus to me. Like, it's very It's not living up. It's not living up to the movies, but it could have been worse.
Of the DreamWorks show offerings of late, it's definitely up there comparatively.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I had to, because I don't think it's kind of something very. I don't think it's like a hot take to say that How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda are like. I'm not counting Shrek because that's really up and down, because of memes and everything. But, Kung Fu Panda and How to Train a Dragon are like DreamWorks' like most appreciated trilogies, I want to say. Again, Kung Fu Panda for my head have been confirmed, but it's not out, so still a trilogy. But if I had to compare like sequel shows which came after, then yeah, I'll watch The Dragon Knight any day over the Nine Realms. That's not even a competition. But just because one is better doesn't necessarily mean that it's in the bar the movie set.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I mean, I think I said something similar of, it was good. Like, it was okay. Good is maybe a bit too strong of a word.
I wouldn't even say okay. It's like very perfectly meh. Like there were some high moments, but nothing mind-blowing, nothing extraordinary.
Well, getting right into season 2, I feel the exact same way.
I'll tell you this, again, so if you're new here, we are gonna start with a little non-spoilery talk, so it's still safe. If you haven't seen the entire season, you can stick around here to not get spoiled, and when we are about to go into spoilers, we will let you know. So you think season 2 is about the same bar as season 1? You think you're still in the meh area?
Maybe even a little bit. Like, I'm going to steal from you when we covered Arknights last episode. I kind of got bored halfway through. Like, around that episode 6 to 7, like it started around episode 5, but 6 and 7, it really started to hit in like, this is just going on too long. We need to be like 2 episodes shorter.
All right. So I'm gonna surprise you here. I think that the first 4 episodes were some of the most batshit thing I've ever seen in my life, okay? And I was loving it. It wasn't necessarily, so bad it's good, but it was just the decisions being made, the stuff they decided to write, animate, approve, put on screen had me in stitches sometimes. And then episode 5 and the rest of the season happens.
Had you in stitches in like, okay, this is legitimately funny, or had you in stitches of, they didn't intend for this to be funny, but I find it funny?
They didn't intend this to be funny in the slightest.
Need to make
sure. Like I said, when I'm saying bonkers, that probably means it's not supposed to make me laugh, but it does.
Fair enough. There are definitely some moments like from those first 5 episodes
Yeah.
I could see it.
So no, so like I
I
said, the
didn't,
first four
but I could
episodes,
see it.
like the first 4 episodes, I was in stitches, and I have a story about this when we actually get to spoilers. But first 4 episodes, I was in stitches. Then episode 5 and onwards, I'm like, I want to enjoy this. I want to love it. There are moments that I'm like, I want to feel something here, but I don't. And then we get the most awkward and weirdly positioned season finale I've ever seen in a while. I guess you know what I'm talking about. We'll get to it when we get to it. But let's say that the season technically has 2 season finales, and it's weird.
Well, I mean, let's just call episode 12 what it is. It's like it's a Chinese New Year for like, the Lunar New Year. It's a themed episode. It's a nothing episode. Nothing happens in it other than, hey, let's like do a Kung Fu Panda story using the Lunar New Year. Like there's zero connection whatsoever.
I'll tell you what. Since there's zero connection, and like if you want to see this as your before we get into that,
In my
just kind of
opinion.
like general show talk that I don't that it's not spoilery. If you want, we can get the lunar year stuff out of the way because I have some things to say. But basically, the thing you kind of need to know here is that we're trying to be somewhat professional and talk about the technical stuff on the show. So, with that said, I just want to say, I know that Netflix is treating animated shows real bad lately.
Join the club.
Yeah, but listen,
It's got
I don't
Disney
know.
in it. It's got Warner Brothers Discovery in it.
Yeah.
It's got everyone in it now.
Yeah, but in regards to Netflix specifically, because listen, I know that it's hard to make a CG show look appealing on a TV show budget, and we talked about this in season 1 too. But like, this is just not comparing to what the movies offer. Then again, I know not fair to compare the two, because one has $1 million budget and each episode here has, like, I guess the million, if an episode here is like a budget of over $1 million, a lot of it is going for Jack Black. I'm aware. However, and I can't stress this enough, when we have Sonic Prime now, and yes, I know that it's rich coming from me, but listen, Sonic Prime had action sequences that used the squash and stretch, were fast-paced, were exciting, and were fun and reminded me of the source material. And you know what else? It actually, in some action sequences, it did match the type of action that you would see in the Kung Fu Panda movies. So, 2 Netflix shows, one gets it right, one doesn't, and one is supposed to be an adaptation and a spin-off of those movies. So I'm not sure if it's a matter of there was a shit producer who crunched the animators and they didn't have the time. Maybe one show did get a lot of budget, but considering both are Netflix, I'm gonna point this out. I don't really see any excuses, and not to insult the animators who I'm sure did their best, but in terms of the people in charge, what kind of excuse do you have when the competition is doing your job better than you? Am I making sense here?
No, I get you. Like, I can see where you're coming from. I would say that, again, it's not bad enough that it's going to turn anyone away, right? But I get where you're coming from in such a sense that it is Kung Fu Panda. You do kind of expect its action sequences, when it does have fight scenes, to be a bit more, action packed, right? At least, like, again, you're never going to be able to achieve the movie level on a TV show budget, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we don't expect that. No one should. You're being a little bit foolish, unless, again, if they want to do that, great. But most people aren't. So, but you can get like this close facsimile, right? This thing that feels like, yeah, okay, this is something I could see in the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Like I
talked about
said,
this with going back to some of our roots, like race to the edge, right? It was close.
yeah, like
It felt close.
again, if we are gonna compare to another DreamWorks movie, then yeah, Race to the Edge might have not had the same level of budget of animation and everything, but it matched in the action sequences. It matched in the stuff you came in to see. Which a lot of it was flying on the dragons and getting those parts right, and it did it. They did it. So it's again, I'm going back to what I said. If other shows on the same service with the same limitations could do it, what's the problem here? And again, not to blame the animators, I'm sure they did their hardest, and again, I wish them nothing but the most successful careers, and that they'll only go to work on better stuff. But I know there's just someone up on top that's like, we can't make it stylized because that way it won't look like the movies. And it's like, you're sacrificing the longer, you're sacrificing something for an outward appearance, and it gets lost in the long run.
Like, here's the biggest thing I think that sets it apart, right? And really shows just how I don't want to necessarily say poor, but just how not a lot of effort was put into it, right? Or that they were just rushed or what have you, whatever.
Yeah.
Was when we get to the two-parter, episode 10 and 11, and you have a character who's supposed to be moving at like super fast speeds.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the movies these characters who aren't moving at like super fast lightning speeds, literally, and yet they still feel fast. In here, this character is literally supposed to be moving at like the speed of lightning, and yet it still feels slow. And granted, they use slow-mo down to show them moving, but even then, it still feels like it's slow.
Honestly, if it wasn't for that slow-mo, I wouldn't have even gotten the idea that this character was supposed to move so quickly.
And yeah, like that for a Kung Fu Panda show and a Kung Fu thing, like these things are, even if they're not meant to be, right, in the real world, when you watch them, you kind of get that expectation, and this is the expectations the movie set forward as well, that it's supposed to be these very fast-paced fighting scenes, right? Whenever they do have them.
And because what the movies did, we talked about it so many times when we covered Kung Fu Panda, but the movies really took advantage of the fact they're animated, and that you don't have to take into account, like, actors' movement speed, or you could control each frame, you could control each action and each move a character makes. And granted, there is you can tell that there is some sort of kung fu philosophy in the moves here and there, but when you remove that wow factor, because now suddenly you don't have the millions of budget, and like, okay, now we're only limited by our imagination. You now have a TV show budget, and you need to ride around it. And once the action sequences do come in, they don't look good. And I am pissed about this, because yes, Kung Fu Panda was never about the action. There was also the story, but like, that's the thing, both of them flew really well. And for the record, the story here isn't perfect for me to forget the fact that the action sequences are lackluster. So nothing really comes together at the end of this.
Yeah, you really, I think the biggest key thing when it comes to something like this is knowing exactly when to push that budget as far as it can go, right? And for something like this, you either need to really push that budget in the direction of the story, or you need to push it in the direction for the action sequences. The story here is not bad. It's just nothing to really write home about. As we've said, it continues to be, again, you're not, it's not going to waste your time, but it's not going to, make you feel fulfilled either. So it's definitely one of those things of, it needed something.
If you're a Kung Fu Panda super fan and you don't want to miss everything. Like, you want to know that you've seen everything that this franchise has to offer. You won't suffer. There are worse cash grabs out there. But at the same time, I don't think you will be fully satisfied that this is what the franchise is turning to at this point. Until the fourth movie comes out, I don't know.
Which we still didn't need, but okay, we'll see.
Let's, like, you know something? I'll give them credit, and I'll even use this for my animation thing. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I've heard that's actually really good.
Yeah, I kind of just went into that movie, wanting to clear my mind a bit, because the first Puss in Boots movie, I'm not sure if we mentioned this when we covered Shrek, but the first Puss in Boots I thought was okay.
It was, yeah,
and
it was all right.
I thought it was okay, but then, like, by the third act, it flows out the window because with that stupid ass plot twist.
Like, it had some fun moments, but otherwise it was relatively all right. It's good.
But then you go into the sequel, and it's super tight. It's super creative. It does everything right, really. Like, one of the biggest surprises I have. And you not only take a spin-off of another movie franchise, but you make a sequel to it that nobody really asked for, but they put so much effort in it, and they started emulating a bit of Into the Spider-Verse with the animation and the action sequences, and it's like, if you can take the Shrek world art style and put a bit of a spin on it so that you could have those creative action sequences, you can give a bit of a creative and tweak to the art style of Kung Fu Panda, and your show can look a hell of a lot better and have much better action, which does matter in a show like this.
You know what that sounds like, HC?
What?
Kung Fu Panda 2. The first one came out and was all right, but not perfect. And the second one came out and blew everyone away.
I'd say the first Kung Fu Panda was more than just all right, but I get what you mean.
But yeah, again though, like the idea though is like, first Puss in Boots movie comes out, everybody's like, all right, that was good, okay. And then the second one come out and everybody's like, whoa, that was really good. Same with Kung Fu Panda. I think that's just DreamWorks' MO at this point, of come out with decent to overall good first movies, and then come out with the sequel and it blows everyone away.
I think
I think How to Train Your Dragon was the exception to this rule.
As the one in this call that prefers How to Train Your Dragon 2 to 1, that's subjective. Wrong. But also
wrong.
I would say that the jump from Puss in Boots 1 to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was much higher than the jump between Kung Fu Panda and Kung Fu Panda 2. Like,
fair enough.
But I get what you mean, though. I get what you mean. But you know what? We talked about comparing this to why it doesn't work because of other stuff. I think we got the point across regarding the technical aspects of this show.
I do want to talk briefly about, did you binge this?
No. I watched, I've seen the first 3 episodes in one day, and then another future. I think the last 4 episodes I've seen this morning, a few hours ago.
So yeah, I watched the first 9 all in a row, and then watched the last 3 this morning as well. I'm beginning to wonder, man, because you talked about, going back to our previous episode, Arknights, you talked how you watched a lot of that all in a row, right? You binged that more or less.
Yeah. Somewhat.
I didn't. I watched that as it came out, 1 episode a week, and I enjoyed it a lot more. I'm beginning to wonder if we're getting to that point of, we're getting into some episodes here and to some shows here, and I think we've talked about it a little bit here or there. Some shows just do not lend themselves well to binging, because as I said, I got bored halfway through this one. I'm up to episode 9, and that's when it starts to get me a little bit interested and hooked again, because of a little twist it has in episode 9. But up until that point, around episode 5, I'm like, oh God, please just skip. I want to skip, but I'm watching it because I have to. It's not bad. I'm just bored.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think it's also one. It's some shows lend this better, because I think with Kung Fu Panda, with this show, they have this kind of overarching story that, yeah, you can tell that each episode is kind of like its own story-ish, but some episodes have more of an arc to them. Let's because I would say the first 4 episodes are kind of like they're all, apart, and then the next few episodes are like apart and stuff. So, but I feel they really want to basically do this really long movie, but because it's still a TV show, you gotta play by TV show rules, and it can. And so sometimes like, okay, we need to put a certain scene of dialogue here or a certain action scene here, and because, and again, I guess it's just kind of like the technical limitations of the specific medium, which so sometimes and sometimes, yeah, you can get sick of binging something when it's too repetitive, and I think the show can be repetitive. I get you, especially near the end. But I also think that I'm not sure if usually, there was a time, I'm not sure if you remember, but there was a time when a new show came on Netflix, it would have 13 episodes. And in recent years, some shows started to break that up. Like, we just mentioned Sonic Prime, which was the last Netflix show that we did, that had 8.
Or,
and like a Cuphead,
Nine Realms
like a goes
has been doing this too.
I'm not really comparing Nine Realms because that's not Netflix specifically. That's I know that what's the difference, a streaming service, but it's not Netflix themselves. You get me?
Okay, fair enough.
And Inside Job too, like
Inside Job. That's another one I was thinking of.
Yeah, like because the first season was 10, season 2 was 8. So I just kind of forgot about that. There was a point where people really pushed for those 13 episodes. That was like the mandate for Netflix. And technically, if you want to count the new Lunar Year special as as 2 episodes, because it's the length of 2 episodes, suddenly we're back to having 13 episodes a season, and honestly, I'm starting to not miss that trend that we needed to have 13 episodes. You get me?
I'm torn because I don't feel the split has worked well for many shows.
Yeah.
Cough, cough, looking at you, Inside Job just getting canceled out of nowhere.
Among other things, yeah.
Even like I liked Arknights, but it seems like it might have gotten split, and I don't think the split has worked well for it. So many shows I just don't think the split has worked well for, but at the same time, yeah, I'm getting back to I'm starting to remember stuff where I don't know, man. I think it's very much a thing of I feel like maybe they're just not communicating well to the writers and stuff like that. Like, hey, this is how many episodes we're gonna get, and this is the timeline. This is like the timeline you have, because it just feels like either it's really hard to nail down that perfect thing of, hey, here's a series that you can watch through and not feel bored while watching it because we didn't make it take too long. But then here's a series that, hey, you can watch through and not feel like you've been cheated out of half the season because we held it back because we didn't have enough time, right?
Yeah. I guess it's
a hard balancing act.
It kind of like, how people talk about between binge culture and releasing an episode every week. Each one has its ups and downs. Like, it's really comes down to that, I think.
I guess it really does prefer what you like. I personally, I don't like, even though I'm willing to do it, I don't like the weekly release schedule, personally. I just, because it's so dependent on you being beholden to their
but
schedule,
I think
right?
now we're just going into...
But yeah, that's a different topic.
Yeah, so...
That's an entirely different Outcast in the future, maybe. Wink, wink.
Yeah, if we didn't do it already, but
we might have.
Again, that's another story, though. Back to Kung Fu Panda, the
it's
Dragon
an Outcast
Knight,
that's been spread out over multiple Outcasts.
Basically. You can look at it in our playlist. Nah, I'm kidding. I'm not there, but
Shh, phone, that's too loud.
I was about to say, did you add this sound effect or was this your phone?
That was my phone. I'm
Okay.
professional and definitely muted it.
Okay.
Anyways, back
Basically,
to Kung Fu Panda: The
yes.
Dragon Knight Season 2. I
Kung
guess
Fu
you
Panda,
wanna...
the Dragon Knight Season 2. This is the end of the non-spoiler section. If you don't want anything spoiled from this show, this is your chance to close the video, watch the season, come back later. Spoilers starting in 3, 2, 1. If you're still here, that's good because, okay, listen. Before we actually talk about, I just want to point out the complete lunacy of the first 4 episodes of this show. Okay?
Run it by me. What really like threw you off your game for these first 4? Because I'm
Okay.
watching and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is all making sense. You're probably gonna point out something and I'm like, you know what? Now that I think about it, you're right. But
Okay, some of it could be me nitpicking, but listen, I will, and again, because I feel like I keep repeating that, but like, my very good friend Jaya, who's been on the Outcast for when we did the Kung Fu Panda movies, and my girlfriend
and many
Steph,
others.
yeah, they are basically my pillow whenever I watch shows for this, or just shows in general. I tell them everything I see. So let's say when I describe to them the show, and keep in mind, just for the hilarity of it, I didn't mention it was Kung Fu Panda. I just told them what happens. Okay? So let's say, so without that context, how would you react if I told you there's a show that starts with a group of characters needing to steal something from one of their teammates' hometown. The teammate is also an ex-con, and they travel around there and they find the ex-con's ex-partner, who now owns a shop with her daughter, and she kind of helps them, sneak into, I guess you could say the town's leader, to sneak into his palace to steal a medallion that holds the spirit of someone they need to talk to. But then, as they do it, the ex-con's partner betrays them, so that she could, basically matchmake her daughter with the leader of the town. And it turns out that the leader of the town and the daughter are apparently kind of into each other, supposedly. So they throw the heroes in prison, and then the leader of the town tells the ex-con that he wants to marry the daughter because that way he would own their store, and then he could demolish it and build a parking lot there. Shows words, not mine. Shows words. And
Following so
then
far,
the
yeah.
and then the main characters break out of prison, kind of destroy the wedding, but then the wedding still goes on in that fight sequence, by the way. And then the medallion breaks, takes over, with the spirit of the master they try to find, takes over one of the main characters. They are trying to fight him, but they're like, no, we can't hurt him and stuff. And then they convince him to help them stop the bad guys. And then it turns out that the ex-con was a good guy overall, and what she did was basically fast track her daughter to becoming the leader of the entire town and ruin the previous leader who is now her husband.
Yeah, sounds perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Just an ordinary
I know what
day.
you're talking about. That is the most bonkers thing I've ever heard in my life, and I just described that. And so,
putting it like that, yeah, like looking back, yeah, it's a little it's an out there idea, right? Like it's a little silly. And I did, sit back and watch it. I'm like, okay, we're doing a heist thing. This is neat. Okay, there's, he's double crossing her. Yeah, kind of expected that. Okay, we're doing the double cross. And then the spirit thing, like, it didn't dawn on me while watching it just how kind of, silly it is. But yeah, it's silly. At the very least, it's silly.
Insane. Insane.
And that's the first 4 episodes, 5 episodes.
Yeah, 4 episodes. So I described this to my girlfriend, and she's like, "What kind of shows does Wolf make you watch?"
I didn't mind. This is yours.
Yeah. So one that was, but that's
blaming me for it.
Yeah. But that's just the thing that she just heard about this, and the first instinct was like that it couldn't have been something that I from a franchise that I like and she likes too, right? She didn't even she just for a second thought you told me to watch something which is completely bonkers.
That's fair though. I've recommended some weird ones. There's definitely some weird shit out there that I could recommend still. Yeah. It gets weirder.
Yeah. Yeah, but then and then I told her it's Kung Fu Panda, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And then the best part, so after this, I'm telling this to Jaya, and keep in mind that Jaya is also Indian, so she had some things to. So she hears all of this, and she goes, "Is this some sort of like a racist anime?"
Mm-hmm.
I want again, not the reaction. And then when I told her that it's Kung Fu Panda, she had 2 things to ask me. One, if I'm trying to give her a heart attack, which no, I appreciate my friends. And 2, isn't Kung Fu Panda taking place in China? And that's my other thing. That's again, this is like one of the first things you see in this season, which is them leaving China, which you see like Poe actually like a goodbye China, and it's like maybe I would have felt something if I actually saw the other characters from the movies, but whatever. And
I do like the idea of exploring the world of Kung Fu Panda.
I like this too. Like that idea too, but I like the idea of exploring the world too, because to see what other countries look like in this, universe.
The same.
But then they go from China to India by foot.
That's not like.
No, you don't. No. You do not. I know that both of them are like Asian countries, but at the same time, you can't tell me you can get from China to India like it's freaking towns in Pokemon. You can't just walk and then you're there.
You can. It's just it's a long walk, but you can. They're connected. But
yeah, but I just thought it's like they treat it as if it's like Ash Ketchum going to another town.
They sail by boat. You do realize, like in the later in the season, like when we're at the
I guess
they go to South America, HC. That's like we're dealing with the Aztecs at one point, right? Like the Kung Fu Panda version of the Aztec, Indians and all that, right? Like they go from India to South America.
Well, but at least they explained there that they got there by ship.
But still, like.
Like again, I get you. That's ridiculous too. Don't get me wrong, but
that's halfway across the world.
Put them on a ship, not in a freaking Pokemon journey.
Depending on which way they sail, they could have sold the other way, which it would still decent distance. And then they're going from there to England at the end of the season. So
again, by ship at least. So I can get that, but again, the fact that they travel from one country to another by foot killed me. But okay, whatever. This could just be me nitpicking, right? It's one of those things that they put there, and I'm laughing my ass off.
That's fair.
So But yeah, okay. So we have those 4 episodes, which besides sounding like a racist anime and something Wolf would get me to watch.
Listen, anime's too busy over here, like reincarnating someone as someone's dog and being horny about that to, be racist at the moment. That's an actual anime, by the way. I'm not lying. My Life is Inuki-san's dog. I've heard of that.
You don't need to convince me. Like I've seen shit, but okay, but okay. No, but just the fact that this is the first thing that came to her mind. This is what kills me.
But this is Western animation, so Western animation, cartoons.
Being honestly, weird. Honestly, sadly, there's plenty Western animation that's racist, but
or weird.
Okay, but anyway, so we kind of talked about the first 4 episodes, completely bonkers. I was having a ball for the most part, but it's still freaking bonkers. I will say that one thing that's kind of disappointing is that, when the master, what's his face, Tasambam, the guy who...
Mastodon.
Right. Yeah, Master Mastodon. When he takes over Mr. Pink's body, and, they kind of go in and out, I was kind of hoping that James Hong would do both voices. Again,
would have been funny.
It was again not a big loss, right? It's nothing major, but it's like, come on, you could have done this. You could have done this.
Him trying to do a deep voice. It would have been funny.
Yeah, not even a deep voice. It's just that the only indication that it's someone different is like if he talked a bit more sophisticated and you see the eyes glowing, it would be the exact same voice, like you're in this body, embrace everything about it.
That's fair.
But all right, again, it doesn't really matter. So this is like another thing. You remember one of your complaints about the previous season was, we see Mr. Pink because he's the MVP of this franchise, but where did Poe's biological father go?
Where did any of the pandas go?
Because where did any of the other characters go? But
but at the very least, like, if I'm not mistaken, like their noodle shop is in the Panda area, right?
Yes.
You have like 2 other characters go to raid the noodle shop, tearing it apart, trying to find clues as to where they went. No one else is there. Everyone's just gone. Like, where is this noodle shop at? Is it in the void?
I should remind you from the previous season, Poe is technically still an outlaw. He's still not the Dragon Warrior anymore. Shifu, the Furious 5, anyone there? No?
They're on vacation.
Okay. Yeah, they're on vacation. We see them in the next season in England. They're just, chilling.
I would laugh. I would find that funny. Yeah. I would respect it. I would enjoy that. So fair enough if that's what they do. They're not going to, but I would enjoy it.
But the reason I'm bringing Poe's biological father, because after they get Mastodon inside of Mr. Ping, there's this point where Poe is like, all right, having 2 fathers. It's like, dude, stop, go back. This is technically 3 fathers, you dolt. You have your biological father. You found him. You had an entire movie
Not
about
anymore.
it.
Did you not notice? He's gone.
I don't know. And like, again, we haven't seen Paws of Destiny. Does something happen to him there? Let us know. Like, I don't know. But for now, I need more than that.
Did Poe die in that one? Is this like, purgatory or something? Is that what we're in? That's why everyone's gone?
Something, it does gonna happen.
No, I get it now. It's all connected, right? During Paws of Destiny, the Thanos snap happened. So that's why they're all not here. And we're not at the point where the Avengers, defeated Thanos and brought everyone back yet.
What are you talking about? We're in 2023. We are totally in that time.
Fuck, that's right. Damn it.
Okay. Anywho, backing up to the actual shows.
Well, the first season wasn't. The first season was in 2022, but damn it, this season is.
Yeah. we're in 2023.
Listen, the
Buddy.
timeline's all fucked up. I blame the Avengers.
Like most of the world, I guess. But okay. Anyway, Martin Scorsese, let's go back to this show. I will say I kind of enjoy Mastodon. He was all right.
Yeah, he's fun. I mean, he's not like he's not interesting enough that, you know, oh, he sacrifices himself. I weep. I don't care. Like, it's like, okay, cool. He sacrificed himself. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's like
we knew you
because
so well.
They also kind of gave him the same arc a couple times of like, oh, we are not gonna win this. Actually, yes, we did. Okay, I need to. It's like, oh, we are not gonna do this, and then it's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna try, and then it's like, we are not going to survive this. Okay, I'm dead now. Bye bye. They didn't really.
Yeah, it's very minor character development of like him at the very end coming to believe that, hey, my group of, you know, masters and people I worked with and friends, you know, we couldn't solve this problem with the legendary weapons, but maybe you can finish it now, and that's when he sacrifices himself, right? It's very, you know, straightforward and very like, I guess you'd say minor character development, but it is there. But again, it's not enough to really make you feel anything when he sacrifices himself. At least for me. Maybe some people like saw that and they're like, Mr. Mastodon, man. Master Mastodon. For them, like maybe it was something, but
maybe, I don't know. Again, but speaking of, if we are around this part, there's supposed to be, because it's in the same episode. It's like in this first season finale two-parter, that there's this moment where like Poe gets all of the trinkets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of it, like the whip, the helmet, the gauntlet, and he's with all of them. And this is one of those, I should feel something. I should feel something here. I should be rooting. I should be like, yeah, go, Poe, my boy. Conquering more challenges, being more like this, like, and I don't. Poe is either living up to what he is in the movies, or he's completely, or he's completely underplayed and underpowered. And I get that he's supposed to be goofy too, but at the same time, the movies managed to balance that more for me. I don't feel he's competent, and it's like the writers can't have him be confident, competent.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like if he was as competent as he was by the end of the third movie, it definitely feels like, okay, this would already be solved and done, and you know, our new character Blade wouldn't look very good at all. So it's like, make him a little too goofy, maybe.
Yay for making me not care about Blade still.
Yeah, she's getting there, but it's still like, you know, maybe with Klaus and Veruca gone, although they're going to be coming back at some point, we all know it, but maybe with them gone, you know, we can do more with her. But yeah, like there's nothing in this season that made me go, all right, Blade, I'm interested now. It's still very much you're fine.
I won't even give her fine. Again, she's like, I didn't really care for her in the first season, and honestly, you know, not her being a hypocrite as well, but this one, it's like, it felt like they tried to give her more, like there's this episode about, you don't want me to unleash the beast, and then she like gets super aggressive and stuff, and then she learns her lesson, supposedly. Like, sure, I care. Let's say that I do. Can I get a cookie
like
if
they
I
play
care?
Pock to Pock, which was neat. I enjoyed that, and it was fun.
Another one of those moments, another one of those episodes where it's like, man, if I need to pick an episode of like, man, you can see that the lack of budget and the lack of actually of some sort of an art style to make it look good. If I need to pick an example, this episode, it's like, ugh, you're trying. I can see you trying. I want to root for you to finish that marathon run, but it's like, it's not there.
I mean, For me, right? Sorry, I had to look up something real quick. For me, I want to say something. I feel
Yeah.
like as far as characters that I'm more interested in, I would say Klaus and Veruca are the two that have caught my interest the most, and they fucking sideline them as the main villains this season
Yeah, I will
for
say
a brand
I
new character that, do we care about you at all? Like, I was a little shocked when they did it, I'll be honest, because it's like I
yeah,
thought they were going to be the main villains, and no, they just sideline them for this new
because
villain.
they were the main villains in the previous season too. Like,
I mean, they were the main villains for this season as well, but we did like there was no interaction between our two groups whatsoever until the last third, I want to say, like the last three, well, excluding episode 12, I would say 9, 10, and 11, maybe a little
yeah,
bit of 8 is where we, yeah, 8 as well. 8 to 9, 10, and 11 is where we get our interaction between, our main cast and our main villains. And then for the final battle, they're just sidelined. They're gone.
yeah. Which, okay, you know what? Let's kind of talk about
Like,
Klaus and Veruca
it's
now.
just,
I actually, again, didn't care for them in the previous season much. I thought like there was potential, but Veruca's design is still looking like a crack-headed Light Fury.
is it just me or does her eyes change color every other scene? I
They
swear,
do, they
I
do.
swear she has two different colored eyes, but then some scenes they're the same color, and then some scenes they're one's one color, one's the other color, and then they go back to being the
She's
same color, and it's like, what are
I
you?
guess in some, I guess in some scenes she's just, for one of the flips she accidentally dropped her contacts. So that's the only explanation I can give you. But okay, but you know what? I was actually interested in their plot at the start of the show because you know what? At the start of the season, because you know what? They actually find their people. It's established in the previous season that they kind of were separated, and then they find their people, and they're like, we thought you were dead. Then they welcome them to their new village and stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool, we actually get to know the people they were supposedly fighting for. We get to see their home, we learn about them. It's like, okay, I don't really care for them from season 1, but you know what, this can change my mind. I want to see where this is going. And
And
then
then,
suddenly there's the new stuff up, and it's like, well, you went away, so now I am in the control of the helmet, and I'm gonna kill you now.
well, no,
I'm like,
actually, it's even worse than that because the leader of the mages didn't want to fight Klaus and Veruca. Veruca is like, no, I'm supposed to be the Archmage. Fuck you. You stole my job. And he's like, I didn't steal it, you just weren't here. We had to pick someone to be in charge. I got picked. I didn't want to be, but here I am. And then they kill him, and it's like, screw the rest of the mages, you can all die too because you needed the helmet to live, but I want it more because I want to destroy the world, and that's it. And it's just,
and there's
eh,
well, supposed to be like a hint that Klaus might turn on Veruca
at
because
some
he
point,
don't
yeah, because it seems like
because he
she's
doesn't
kind of
necessarily.
lost her mind.
Yeah, because at some points it does seem like he's starting to question her. He doesn't necessarily agree with her, and then jumping ahead, there's this stupid ass freaking sequence where Blade is on their tail, and Veruca gets injured, so Klaus goes to try and make her like some sort of an elixir or some shit.
Yeah,
And Blade literally has her at literally aims her sword at her. It's like, done, don't don't hold on, kill the freaking bitch. There was no reason for Blade to let her go, aside from the entire violence doesn't solve everything, and but it's like, who cares? Like, she's gonna kill, because we know that she's probably going to kill Veruca anyway. That's the only way Blade's character is gonna have any sort of final goal. So why just delay it? Why delay it? It's not
I
like there were any part of because they kind of disappear from the show afterwards anyway. So it's like,
well,
well,
it seems like it to me. I feel like they're trying to go for the character development of she's she's not giving up. She's just letting them go because she's working with Poe and everything like that has shown her that, hey, I don't need revenge anymore. I've got better things in my life now. I devoted so much of my time to trying to chase you down and get rid of you that I don't need to anymore. I'm past that now. And which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I hope this means we can get more from her character-wise if we get a season 3. I don't know. But it feels like something like that you need. It feels like Blade hasn't had the focus she would need to have that kind of character development, right?
And again, it just feels like, why would you even have this character moment there? Like, we had this plot about, unleashing the beast and shit, but this is not about unleashing the beast. This is about why you went on this journey to begin with.
The beast thing was just her being competitive. Like, she's extremely competitive, and that's like the entire thing for that. Like, that's all that was.
But at the same time, but it seemed kind of like they tried to combine the two. Like, that her not killing Veruca was some sort of self-control.
Which, again, like, I'm fine with. It's just, she's, in my opinion, she's not had the character development to give that kind of room, right? Like, she's not had the focus she would need for that kind of character development, I should say. And
like, too
if
little,
they're going
too
to
late,
do it, though, I will say, hopefully that means we can get more from her character-wise in a potential season 3. Like, that's what I will say. Like, hopefully that means we can move past that and we get more from that. But who knows?
Whatever. At this point, I don't really care for Blade, and they need to work hard to make me care. And again, I didn't care, like, why she didn't kill Veruca. She had the chance, and then, again, then Veruca just, completely ignores her brother's elixir for some fucking reason, and then we don't see them again. So, unless season 3 proves me otherwise, she fucking dies.
I mean, we're going to see them again.
Obviously, but who knows? But again, it felt like you had an ending there and you didn't take it. I don't care.
I will say, getting back to something we mentioned earlier, I do enjoy the idea of exploring the world of Kung Fu Panda. I think it's interesting to see that world expand. My problem with that is every place we've been so far has not looked any different, to be quite honest. Like in the Aztec area, other than the city, it didn't feel any different from anywhere we've seen in China, or the one place we saw in India didn't feel any different than any place we've seen in China.
I was about to say that, in the India one, if they didn't outright say that it's India, or, thanks to some of the traditional like the turbans and everything, I wouldn't have been able to. I will say, though, actually, I might mention it later, we'll see. But, so India, I can't. Maybe the turbans and the and the castle, like the palace. Other than those, it didn't really feel any different than anything we saw. And and honestly, I think the only reason I would get India is because they actually called it India. Everything else, do they even say what it's supposed to be?
I mean, it looks to me like we're dealing with Aztecs by the way everything looked. So no, they didn't say where it was, but I would assume that like they've traveled to quote unquote South America, right?
Because
it doesn't
of the pyramids
feel
that are
that
in
way.
Egypt at some point, like near the end.
Nope.
Which so it's one of those.
Surprisingly enough, nope.
You, like it's one of those things where I get you. I like the idea on paper. I just don't think they executed it well.
They needed to do more to really make it differentiate and feel like a different place. And I think they could have. They just didn't. I hope in season 3, if we're going to England, it actually feels like, okay, this feels different than, China. Because if you make England, of all places, at this point in time, feel like China, you fucked up.
Yeah.
You fucked up. Because that's supposed to be, like, as of right now, a very industrialized city. So, like, in the era that Kung Fu Panda is set in, more or less.
Yeah, let's say if they make the UK look like China, I have I will have a half Chinese, really pissed off girlfriend. So that don't piss my girlfriend off, show. You've been warned. So, anywho, one thing I will say in regards, I did like, because we have, how we have a, I forgot her name, uh, Viper, from the movies. So we have we had like a snake character in this franchise, right? We've had a snake character actually, move around and be part of the world and everything. So I have to say, because because India is famous for its snakes and everything, I did like the snake designs for the guards who were snakes.
Yeah, I thought it was cool how they fought with the swords. A little bit silly, but it was cool.
No, like even just in designs in general, I did like the designs. But then like every other new character looked so completely off from this universe. Like the frogs don't look like they belong.
That's fair.
The bird doesn't look like it's belonging. Like the main villain actually, this tiger, which initially I thought tigress. I had a little bit of hope, but no.
I don't think it's a tiger, but I don't know what it's supposed to be, to be honest.
It's somewhere like if it's a tiger, a leopard, I'm not entirely sure, but
Fair. It's a indiscriminate feline animal type thing.
Yep.
Or nondescript is the word I'm looking for. I apologize. But yeah, like I didn't mind it too much. It's not something that stuck out to me, but it definitely clashes, I would say. Like it doesn't feel like it works as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt very. How do I say this? It just felt like she was the closest to something that looks like something from the Kung Fu Panda universe, and I think it's only because, regardless of what she's actually supposed to be, she reminded me of Tigress. So
fair enough. I wonder
and
if
I guess Mastodon, when you see Mastodon's actual body, he kind of looks like. He kind of looks like a Kung Fu Panda character, but some of the other designs seemed so odd.
The only thing I can say is maybe they did it on purpose because it's supposed to be like a different area of the world. Maybe they did it for that reason, which if so, neat, but I can't give them that kind of credit because I don't know if that was the case or not, considering. I do want to ask, because we've talked a little bit about it here or there, like so for our finale, we learned that Blade's brother was actually here at the Aztec area, and they tried to fight our new big bad villain at the end of this season themselves as well, and that's why one of the wheels, as they're called, one of the legendary weapons is missing, and they only have the one now, so they got to go to England to find that one because he took it to England. Like it felt like it was a neat twist. It got me a little interested, but
yeah, it's like it's one of those. Okay, I guess that's interesting, but I'm also not floored.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It keeps coming back to this thing of I would rather just watch a show with him set in the Kung Fu Panda universe because it seems like that would be more fun. It seems like he would be more interesting than us following Poe and Blade. Instead, we just follow this night guide going his travels, trying to, deal with these legendary weapons, and we just get more of the Kung Fu Panda world from his perspective.
Yeah, and not necessarily involve Poe.
Which I'd be fine with. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, like, again, for the record, I love Poe. He's great, but, it doesn't need to be he doesn't need to be there in order to be the Kung Fu Panda universe. You can say that it's a part of it, but it doesn't have to revolve around him.
But people wouldn't watch it if it wasn't otherwise, though.
You can never know. People watch spin-offs before.
But that's how the higher ups and people in marketing are gonna are gonna look at it, right? Like
which
no
is
one's gonna
why they
watch it if
greenlight
Poe's
the
not there.
Nine Realms, for fuck's sake. But,
No one's gonna
okay.
watch it if not Hiccup and not Toothless aren't there. It's totally not Hiccup
Anyway,
and totally not
but
Toothless.
going back to this, there's just this one thing that really pissed me off because they kind of used it as just a launching pad for the next season, but they bring up that Mr. Pink might actually have a past.
What did you think
He might
about
actually
that?
have a past as like a pirate, and he had there's this either old flame or old partner who really can't stand him now, and he wants to keep Poe safe from it. And it's like, where the fuck did that go? Tell me about this. Give me a show about that.
That's next season.
I don't care. Give it to me now. That's actually interesting. Let me know more about this guy. I want to see where this is going. Give me more.
I hope this ends up going really well, but I feel like it's just gonna get our hopes up and then fall flat.
Let's say, considering everything we say about this show, is the idea is there, but the execution is not. I'm not holding my hopes up.
Yeah, because right, like this show, it's so close to being something that's genuinely pretty good and pretty decent, but it just feels like every single time you have the really good setup and then it just stumbles and falls and trips and it just can't do it.
And it's not hitting that area, and that's the disappointing part.
I guess the final, I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about, but the final thing for me, what did you think about episode 12? Because episode 12 is the epic Lunar New Year. It's basically just...
I was about to segue right into this.
Because it comes after our essentially season finale, which ends with episode 11, and we get this, which is not even remotely connected other than the beginning bit where they're sailing towards England, and then the ending bit where they finish their story.
And then they're telling a story that's basically a what if scenario of the first episode of this first season. So, but here's what I think. The idea in itself, I can't believe I'm saying this again, but the idea to do a lunar, a new lunar year, a new Chinese year, special isn't really anything, isn't really a bad one. In fact, if there's any show where I would accept that in, it's Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
Because it's the universe, it's in China, and right now they're traveling, yes, but the entire thing takes place in China.
Yeah.
And so for this, I actually kind of like it. You know what? Let's really embrace it. And especially because China really embraced this franchise, I think it's very fair and very sweet, honestly.
Yeah, and it did come out close to the New Year, so...
My problem is, why is this located right after the season finale? Or better yet, why not make it its own special like the Rescue Rider specials? Make it its own title. Why shove it after the season finale?
Yeah, it just felt weird because it felt like, okay, so this is going to continue on with, maybe us arriving in England and that's where we end. But no, it's again, nothing. It's not even remotely connected. You could watch this one entirely by itself and be fine,
let's say,
more or less.
If I may compare this to another show, that wasn't on streaming, it aired on TV, but in Amphibia, there was in the second season, there was a Halloween special, which, it didn't really make sense in terms of the continuity of the show where it would take place, especially not when, by the time it aired in the middle of season 2. But so some fans just kind of decided that it's not really canon because it doesn't really impact anything. But I think that's the idea, that they just kind of shoved this episode in the middle for fun, because to say let's celebrate Halloween in some fun way, and it's not really connected to anything. And here, besides the opening and ending sequences, it's it could have worked. I just don't think it works as the final episode of a season. Again, if it was either in the middle of it or if it was its own like special, like I said, Rescue Riders and some of the Captain Underpants specials that they had for that show, I would have probably appreciated this a lot more. But stuck in there, it feels like you're ending on a, and it's sad because again I like the idea of actually celebrating it, something related to China, the Chinese New Year. That's actually pretty wholesome. But
Yeah.
then you're stuck in it after the actual season finale, and it feels like a wet fart. What is this doing here?
Yeah, I agree. It feels out of place, unfortunately. Speaking to the episode itself, and it also comes at the end, and it's 40 minutes long, where everything else has been 20 minutes, and
Yeah,
it feels like it feels tacked on when it shouldn't be, and
exactly.
it feels like it doesn't go with the pace or the flow very well at all in a season that's already felt like it's been too long as is. So it just doesn't work. Again, I
It's like
like the idea. I enjoy, them doing this, but it feels like it's badly placed and badly timed, unfortunately.
badly paced, badly timed. Just it doesn't belong where they put it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think all the good intentions kind of went away when they did this, because now people are not going to look at this as like, oh, this is Kung Fu Panda honoring the country in which it takes place in. People are not gonna see this as something that's worth celebrating. They're gonna see it as a pointless filler, which is just stuck in the middle of a season where we could have done something else with these 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's the biggest insult at the end of the day.
I do want to ask though, like,
Mm.
because there is a small part of me that's kind of like looking at their kind of what if scenario, the story they tell. It's basically the same characters, but now they're kind of monster hunters, right? Hunting monsters throughout China and stuff like that. Kind of, doing stuff like that.
Weird comparison, but the first thing that came to mind is that actually there was a SpongeBob special which kind of told the story of like one of SpongeBob's ancestors, back when Bikini Bottom was like a Western kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like that in a way. It's not a flashback, but you get what I mean.
But I do want to ask, like, did this make you like Blade any better? Taking out,
Honestly,
ignoring all the other context and just looking at this.
listen, it's hard to say when it's hard to say when you have a character that's like shows up and does like a few cool things maybe in an episode that's really self-contained, and a character that just didn't interest me throughout the entire show. Like, as far as I'm concerned, these are the same character. It
That's
doesn't
fair.
really matter.
I would be interested to hear someone's opinion who watched this episode 12, Epic Lunar New Year, first by itself and then watched the 2 seasons. Probably be a little weird, but I'd be curious to see or hear how their opinion of the characters might have changed from the special to the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But again, I come back to this idea of them being monster hunters, kind of more interesting than what we've gotten so far.
Yeah, like, again, I would, something, if the entire show was like a big AU, like what if they were monster hunters? It's like, you know what, I would probably enjoy it more. But as is, I'm reviewing it as it is.
Which is fair. Which comes back to our review of, it's not horrible. It's fine, It'll waste
Like
some
I
time
said,
for you.
I probably said it. I said it earlier in this episode. I probably said it back when we did season 1. Not if you're a Kung Fu Panda fan who just has to see it all, you won't load this, I feel. But you're also not going to go gaga for it.
If you want more Kung Fu Panda, this will do fine for you. If you want, good Kung Fu Panda, this is not for you. Leave now. Enjoy your, more pristine image of Kung Fu Panda.
And I guess cross your fingers that Kung Fu Panda 4 might be good.
Kung Fu Panda 4. It's all about Blade now.
You know something? If they fucking make it about Blade, I am not seeing that movie. I'm boycotting it. I'm refusing.
I wonder if they'll. I would be curious to see if they put her in the movie. I'm curious.
I doubt, because that way you you are now forcing people to watch the show.
Yes,
suddenly.
That's the point. Suffer.
No, like I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't know. We'll see. I guess whenever there's more info about it, because
Again,
it's not coming out for a long time.
Oh yeah. Again, though, we come back to the same point of I want to see. I don't want to see season 3, but I do hope with season 3, you know, they're able to do better, because again, we come back to that same point of, look, they have something here. Like, it could be good, but they continue to just drop the ball and fall and slip and fall, and it just.
I'll tell you what.
It's so close.
Right? Considering where the show stands right now, season 3 can either rise above and actually surprise me, or it can falter down and die even more.
Or do the exact same. Which, yeah, okay, I guess.
You know, either one. If it can be the exact same, it can go. It can just become so terrible. You know, 9 Realms level.
I want that. I want it to do something. Leave an impression, because so far it's just been, like we said, it's not left an impression really. Because at the end of the day,
I am kind of annoyed, because, you know, you can say what you want about the other shows, right? Again, I barely have, you know, my experience with the other Kung Fu Panda shows can go to really almost non-existent. But this one, they actually put some marketing behind this one. They actually got Jack Black to come back for this. There's a certain amount of expectation that you cause when you bring those elements into the table. And you know, so far it's just like, honestly, considering Jack Black is also producing this show, it feels like one of those versions of like the celebrity cartoons from the 80s. You know, there was that Jackie Chan show and the Chuck Norris show. So it feels like that, but it's Kung Fu Panda now.
Listen, the Jackie Chan show was fun, man. I enjoyed that shit. Chuck Norris show too, but
judging those, okay? I'm not saying
it's fair.
I'm just saying this is what it feels like.
I agree. I will say, like, yeah, the only thing I'm taking from these 2 seasons thus far is Mr. Ping was a pirate in his past. Cool.
And I want to see more of that. The question is if they're gonna give it to me.
Hopefully. You know, hopefully we get a season 3, but also, again, just do something, please. I mean, being an okay show is fine, but it's not going to leave an impression, right? Like,
it's Kung Fu Panda, though. Kung Fu Panda deserves better than just an show.
I agree. At least leave an impression. Even if it's terrible, leave an impression with me, man. Just please do something.
Because I do say that sometimes, you know, the worst thing any form of entertainment can be for me is boring. And
agreed.
I won't say that this show is like keeping my interest, but it's like it's not making me fall asleep necessarily. So there's at least that. But it's also not leaving me with it. Like, after we're done with this podcast, I'm probably going to forget it exists until the next season pops up.
Honestly, the same, because it's what happened with the first one and the second one.
Yeah, there you go.
Because
so
I forgot all about Rukmini and Blade.
Yeah, so I guess with this kind of end note, that has been all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What did you think about Kung Fu Panda: The Dragon Knight Season 2? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. So until next time, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.